Meet Gaku Kata, a quiet, super smart kid who got into a top-tier school on a scholarship thanks to his mad math skills. Numbers have been his thing since he was a kid. Naturally, the school expected him to crush the annual math Olympiad. But plot twist, Gaku blanked out on exam day and didn't write a single answer. The next day, the school board and principal called him in for a scolding. Turns out, the school has always taken first place in the math Olympiad since forever, and now Gaku just broke the streak. Hoof. Gaku wanted to become a modern-day math genius, but now he's stuck flipping omelets in the school cafeteria. Despite his scholarship, he works part-time to help support his dad. He refuses to be a burden. With only 6 months left until graduation, he meets a coworker named Ao. She's chasing a sports scholarship and is working part-time like him. After hearing Gaku's tragic backstory, she's shocked. She thought he was the math whiz of the school. Still, she asks him to tutor her nephew, but Gaku's not really into teaching. He finds cooking way easier. In fact, he can daydream while doing it. One day, while he's cooking, he accidentally gets ketchup on his face. All freaks out and tries to help, but Gaku's completely chill. Just then, a mysterious hoodie-wearing guy strolls into the cafeteria and smells the food Gaku made. Gaku gives her a staff meal, and her soul basically leaves her body after the first bite. It's that good. The pooted guy wants the same dish, but Gaku says it's staff only. So the guy just grabs the plate, eats it, then pats Gaku on the head like he's a pet and walks off. What a guy. Later, Gaku is summoned to the principal's office again. Word got out that Gaku refused to enter the next math Olympiad. The board sees this as his chance to redeem himself after last time, but Gaku isn't feeling it. He thinks he's just not cut out for math glory anymore. The principal? Furious. As Gaku walks down the hallway, he bumps into 3 visitors. One of them is none other than Mr. Hoodie, the plate thief. Gaku recognizes him and calls him out. Turns out the guy isn't a student. He's one of the city's top chefs, invited to cook for an elite event. But suddenly, he loses interest in the principal and becomes curious about Gaku instead. Next scene, they're both in the kitchen. Hoodie guy, let's call him Kai, apologizes for earlier and offers to cook Gaku something. Gaku learns Kai is only 23 and already owns a restaurant. Gaku's impressed and a little jealous. Gaku's dad then calls, excited as ever. He's proud of Gaku and tells him not to worry about money. He wants him to chase his dreams, maybe even get a master's abroad. Gaku, touched, promises he'll work hard. Just then, Kai drops a plate of Neapolitan noodles in front of Gaku. Before Gaku can take a bite, Kai says he's been watching him. He even asked Gaku's classmates and teachers about him. Turns out, ever since the exam disaster, Gaku lost his spark. Kai tells him he doesn't realize how much potential he still has. Gaku wants none of the pep talk, he just wants to eat. But the moment he takes a bite, he's shook. How can soggy noodles taste this amazing? He asks Kai for the recipe, but before he can answer, Kai gets a call and leaves. He does toss one final smug remark over his shoulder. My noodles are better anyway. Mic drop. He introduces himself as Kai and walks off. Then comes the bombshell. All calls Gaku in a panic. She saw the school bulletin board. Gaku has been expelled for refusing to join the math Olympiad. They're even asking for the scholarship money back. In the rain, Gaku kneels in front of the principal, who gives him the ultimate guilt trip. His failure made the school lose sponsors and prestige. Gaku begs, but the principal says there's nothing he can do. As Ao rushes toward Gaku, Kai shows up first. Later that night, the school is hosting a fancy dinner with VIP guests, and the principal hired top chefs, including Kai. The guests are floored when they learn Kai is not only young but owns the famous Chef Kid restaurant. But then the principal sees the menu and merely faints. Neapolitan noodles as the main course? Bold move. Behind the scenes, Kai has literally kidnapped Gaku and is making him cook the Neapolitan. Gaku panics. He thinks he's a loser who can't even face a math exam, let alone cook for elite guests. Aw suggests they leave, but Kai steps in with a deal. Stay a loser or cook this one perfect dish and change your life. Gaku remembers his dad's sacrifices and decides to give it a shot. He's still shaky, but he puts on the apron and begins. He asks Kai why he, the better chef, isn't making the noodles. Kai smirks and says, "You'll need to think outside the box." And suddenly, eureka. Gaku chills the noodles in the fridge after rinsing them in cold water. All is confused, wouldn't that make them soggy? But Kai smirks again. He knows what's up. The guests had all been served Neapolitan noodles, and let's just say, they weren't impressed at first. I mean, who serves basic pasta at a high-profile dinner? But once they took a closer look, they realized, hold up, these weren't your average corner shop noodles. So they took a bite. Boom, eyes wide, jaws dropped, taste buds dancing. One guest even said it felt like new flavors were literally exploding in his mouth. Another snooty guy tried to play it cool, saying he preferred high-class cuisine, but the real punchline? He'd already cleaned his plate without realizing it. For most of the guests, Gaku's pasta hit them right in the childhood, that ideal creamy flavor they hadn't tasted in years. The principal, meanwhile, watched in confused silence. Why were his guests getting all sentimental over spaghetti? Still, he smiled to himself, knowing he could use this moment. After dinner, the principal asked his guests if they enjoyed the meal. Everyone agreed. They were shocked at how such a simple dish could leave such a big impact. That's when Kai, the young celebrity chef, leaned over and casually asked if they could bring out the mastermind behind the noodles. The principal nodded until he saw Gaku walk in, cue choking. Kai wasted no time hyping Gaku up. He explained how Gaku's method was actually genius. He sauteed onions first to trigger the Maillard reaction, then added bratwurst and bell peppers, and finally stir-fried the pasta with ketchup. But here's the twist. He pushed the pasta aside and poured the ketchup straight into the pan to boost its aroma. Even the tiniest detail was calculated. Kai revealed Gaku warmed forks to exactly 45 degrees Celsius, so diners wouldn't be distracted by a cold touch. The guests were floored. One even admitted the fork did feel cozy. Who knew temperature could be that important? Kai continued gassing Gaku up, and although Gaku looked super awkward from the attention, he finally admitted he only figured out that technique after tasting Kei's version. That's when Kai spilled his own secret. He intentionally let the noodles get soggy to mess with Gaku's brain. Classic mind game. Now everyone stared at Gaku like he was a 5-star prodigy. The principal, sweating bullets, he couldn't believe the same guy almost got expelled. With his mathematical precision and methodical cooking, Gaku had just become the new symbol of Wells Academy's pride. Kai wasn't done yet. He nudged the principal and said his VIP guests were ready to pour in more funding for the school, but only if Gaku stays. So yeah, if the principal didn't give credit where it was due, things might get ugly. Cornered, the principal had no choice but to bow and thank Gaku, and judging by his face, he was dying inside. Later, Kai and his crew walked out, but not before turning back to tell Gaku, "Your math brain, it's perfect for cooking. We could change the game together." Then, plot twist. Gaku woke up in a cold sweat. It was all a dream. Downstairs, his dad was buzzing with excitement. Gaku got accepted into Tokyo University. Gaku shrugged it off, saying he expected it after acing the mock exams. While watching TV, Gaku saw a bold young woman named Mashi, a regular face at the Math Olympiads, bragging about getting a perfect score. His dad admits she's a baddie, but he's not a fan of her big mouth. Turns out, Gaku had met her once. She asked him a basic math question, and while his answer was right, she came up with an entirely different theory. That moment stuck with him. He knew then that she was built different. Noticing Gaku's swirling thoughts, his dad dashed to the kitchen and made him breakfast. As Gaku enjoyed the meal, he thought about how peaceful life with his dad had been. But he also knew he couldn't drift aimlessly forever. So he stood up and told his dad he was heading to Tokyo for a while. His dad was caught off guard but didn't argue. He knew Gaku had something to figure out. Later, Gaku arrived at Chef K's restaurant where he was warmly greeted by Rona, a sous chef. She immediately recognized him as the genius behind those Neapolitan noodles. She even handed him a perfectly chilled wine glass, noting that everything in the restaurant, from the plates to the doorknobs, was temperature adjusted for maximum comfort. Gaku was impressed. Turns out Kai had spoken very highly of Gaku, so much so Rona respected him even before meeting him. She offered him a seat and said she'd cook a special meal. Gaku hesitated. He wasn't trying to drop 8,000 yen on dinner, but Rona explained that Kai left instructions. If Gaku can explain the principle behind the dish she serves, he should wait here for Kai. If not, he should take his travel fare and leave. She brought out a stunningly plated dish. Gaku was speechless at the presentation. But before he could eat, Rona hit him with a hard truth. You're not cut out to be a chef. Not in this restaurant. The culinary world is no joke, and Rona isn't afraid to say it. She bluntly tells Gaku that without drive or ambition, you won't survive in a kitchen like this. But Gaku, being Gaku, calmly cuts her off. Can I eat now? You're talking too much. He takes one bite, and boom, flavor overload. Instantly, he figures out the main ingredient, crab. But what really impresses him is how she combined crab and pork so perfectly. While Gaku breaks down the dish like a food detective, Rona just stares. This guy's got serious passion in his eyes. And then he hits her with a plot twist. He asks for a pen and paper. Yes, he's math mapping the cooking process. Rona's stunned. Every single one of his deductions has been spot on. So she throws in one last test. What do you think about the crab? Without blinking, Gaku answers. It's crab, bro. Bullseye. Just then, Kai walks out clapping. He praises Gaku for being correct down to the last bite and welcomes him aboard as a rookie chef. Rona and the team are floored. They'd never seen Kai this hyped. Gaku tells him he's been thinking about Kei's offer nonstop. The last time he actually enjoyed math was when he was a kid. Now he gets that same thrill from cooking. Then walks in a familiar face, Witchy, one of the VIP guests from the fancy dinner earlier. He's been a fan of Gaku's ever since the legendary Neapolitan night. And today is his daughter's birthday. He wants Gaku to cook for her. So who's the birthday girl? Musashi. Yep, Gaku's old rival from the Math Olympiad.